go ahead. I'll work on this.
Okey doke. Well, welcome, everybody. It's the appointed time and the appointed place. This is the Canyon City Water Committee meeting. We're pretty informal here. I'll do the roll call. Bill Bradford is here. Dean is not here. Beth is here. Doug is not here. Blake is not here. Tim is here. Dwayne is not here. Tim Dennehy's here. Myself, Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick. And Dennis, Dennis, what's your last name?
Brady.
Brady.
See, that's what I'm saying, he's sort of.
Oh,
Represent-
we've got a ringer today.
Brady conglomerate. I did.
Dean had some.
Okay. And of course, we got Travis Payne, Andrea Stein from City Council, Emily Tracy from City Council, Leo Evans, who's our Public Works Director, and Marvin, what's your last name?
Arlen Bolkman.
I think I got that right. Okay, welcome. So we have some old business. By the way, I've got to take my wife to a medical appointment, so I'm gonna have to duck out a little bit early. And I'll let Travis, perhaps you can, since you're running, you've got the technology, you can go ahead and take over with me if we don't get done. Under old business, we've got draft well ordinances. I don't know if everybody has that copy. Is that their ordinance 11? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Got one more then? Yes. Oh, he's gonna make that,
the council did take a look at this and tried to do did some work on it, and what we've got here is kind of amendments to the amendment to the amendment. But I guess the new language is with certain exceptions, as you can see there under the whereas. And the owner may continue to utilize a new or existing well for non-potable use. Hey Doug, how you doing?
Sorry, guys.
Okay, we just got started.
Well,
Not having.
with certain exceptions, one seems kind of vague.
Yeah.
Well, this is something we kind of went around and around on. And the issue is that if you have a property that has a well and you're connected to the city water system, what is your obligation? Right? Are you supposed to shut in your well? You're supposed to disconnect it? What are you supposed to do and the idea is that we don't want a cross connection between that well
Right.
and the city water system. And
That's
so
the whole purpose.
That's the whole purpose, and that's what we're trying to do, and we're kind
Sure.
of flailing around a little bit.
Yeah.
Trying to get to that language that everybody agrees on, lets people know when they read the ordinance, that that's what the intent is that, but if you have a well, does that mean that you can't use it for any purpose on your property? Irrigation or watering livestock or something like that? No, that's not the intent of the ordinance. The intent is no cross connection. And so we were struggling with the language to try and make sure that it was clear, anybody that read it, that the concept was no cross connection.
And so if you look at sections F and J, which are identical, it does line out what the exceptions are. So that first sentence, subject to the exceptions herein. And that's that last sentence. If a new or existing well is to be used as a potable water source on the property, it may not be used in connection with any building or structure that is connected to the city's water system. And really what that came about is council discussion saying, well, we don't want to limit, right? As much as possible. So if there's separate buildings that are fed by a well, that's A-okay, as long as there's no connection to the city water system in the
Right.
building. So that's really the exception that it's calling out. So you can still use it for irrigation, you can still use it for really any other use besides domestic water use, or maybe a
Domestic
better
water
term
use
would
in your
be,
house.
just drinking water.
Right.
use.
Drinking
That's
And
what
this
we.
is-
it
This
can't
is
be
the
any
water
other.
system. Throughout your water system, even in the county,
That's correct.
yes,
Yes, even in the county, anywhere that's connected.
because that's where you're gonna find more wells. So.
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely.
Invert side,
Yeah.
doing the same thing, we're making sure that there's no connection whatsoever.
Perfect.
So how do you enforce that, guys?
So what it'll be is if they come to us looking for a tap application, part of what my question will be to them is, do you have an existing well? Right, so if they have an existing well, well, then they have to disconnect from that building. The other side of that is if they have an existing water tap, they have to get our permission, I guess is a decent word to use, through the state engineer to get that well. So when I get the address of somebody that's looking to get a well, if they have a water connection, then it'd be like, yes, you can have this well with the condition of it cannot be used for drinking water and it connected to your tap. So those two ways of going about it.
So they can still drill a well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's happened a couple of times in my tenure as a superintendent,
Okay.
that somebody's asked for a well and I said, yes,
Okay.
condition of. So it's always been long-standing practice. It just, we didn't have a code to fall back and point to as kind of a backbone to what I'm saying. So it's really just giving us, something to point to is, this is part of our regulations.
Does this sound good to everybody? This
Yeah.
is
Yeah, I think-
the,
Yeah, they,
any concerns? Because the council, the last meeting asked what the water committee's opinion was on this. So we just want to make sure that if there's something that we think is not right yet, that we bring that forward to them.
Yeah, because this will be the last, so this will be the second reading, so assuming approval, then this will be done.
okay, good.
Yeah. I think it's good.
I think Doug's question still is, how do you enforce it? I mean, if there's an existing well and there's an existing tap, and we go in, is it under rural water authority, is there some health thing? Or
No, it'd be under our authority, so we have unauthorized uses kind of listed out in our regs, and if anybody breaks basically our laws, and say that, then it'd be water. So,
Okay, so we could come back to the city
yes,
for that before.
Yes.
If someone went south.
you got it. Yeah, but that should, we would go ahead and turn it off.
Once again, I still have a question. So you got a building here. I understand the concept of this thing. I think it's fantastic. I just wonder about, you can make all the rules you want if you don't have the sources or to reinforce it or to enforce it.
Yeah. Well, we see that a lot. We see that with people stealing water, right? We have rules that you can't take unmetered water, but we still see people putting jumpers in. But what we can do is if we become aware of the situation, now we have something in our regs that we can point to, say, we're turning the water off, or you take care of it. There ain't no fight about it, right? We have something we can point to, so it's not like we're gonna be going and checking everybody's property all the time. But if we become aware of it, we have something we can fall back on.
Okay,
Okay, our second item of old business is a reservoir discussion. I don't think we have anything.
No, really, that's gonna be kind of a holding pattern until our water master plan is completed.
And we do expect the water master plan, that one of the briefings will be with us as a committee. And I think we need to, make sure that where are we in the water master plan? Travis?
We have a kickoff meeting with JVA, that's the engineering group that got the bid. We have a kickoff meeting with them tomorrow.
Kickoff meeting tomorrow.
So they've already done a massive, what I call pretty massive information request. So we're working through all that to get them all the data that they need to be able for them to do their job. So we'll have kickoff with them. They will be on site. We'll do some site visits around, meet everybody face to face. And as we get them their data, they'll start working on their tasks.
Okay, and so they're gonna be assembling the water master plan and and probably will provide it to staff. Would that be correct? That once they get a preliminary draft,
Mhm.
we call it that, that'll be provided to staff. Staff will give input on it. Once the staff is happy with the draft, then it goes to the wider world,
Mhm.
including the water committee, including council. Would that be
Yeah, those
correct?
parts that can be made public.
Mhm.
Work for.
Is there other parts that won't be made public?
Yeah, a lot of, when it starts going into kind of strategy when it comes to our, water shares,
Oh,
that will not. be
Gotcha.
public.
right, there'll be some confidential parts because of water. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yes, comment, question?
No, I was just saying, remind me, is there a public engagement meeting
Yes.
as a part of that too
Yes,
at some
there
point?
is.
In addition to the water
Yes.
committee, I can't remember if that falls before or after.
It'll be after, so there'll be three, engagements with staff. One of those will be with water committee, so it'll be a total of three, and then there'll be separate public. Yes. So when,
Timeline?
it's
Like
supposed to
next year?
completely be wrapped up by October of next year.
Okay.
So we have enough time to talk about water rates for 2025.
Pleasant discussion topic. Yes, sir.
Is this a master plan that you talked about before that
Yes.
was the master plan that they said, use your master plan from before, that they said?
They wanted to use some of our rate studies from before, so we
Right.
never really have had a proper all-encompassing master plan. Yeah,
So some of that's already there and.
some of it's already
more
there,
we're
but
gonna
it's kind
add
of
to.
dated information.
Got it.
So they'll be revising, like population estimates, like any of our larger projects that we got on the horizon, like maybe the Abbey or, 4 mile full build out, that sort of stuff. They'll be using that for, you know, how much shares we have left that we can kind of promise out, whether we should be expanding our water district, questions of like that.
Just making sure I'm on the topic there.
Yep, you got it.
You know, does their scope include storage?
Yes.
Touching on storage.
Yeah, it'll touch on both finished water storage and raw water storage. So one of the tasks originally was to evaluate raw water sources. And in talking about that more, we decided to axe kind of the all-encompassing raw water sources and move that into, we actually have 4 possible raw water reservoir sites that have been offered to us. And so they're gonna do some work to prioritize those in an engineering point of view. Maybe some high level cost estimates, so that sort of thing, to kind of give us a direction to go. I've never built a reservoir before, so when I got four possible sites, it became kind of overwhelming to me to figure out which one was the best one to go forward. I have my druthers, but you know, that's just, I guess, my feelings about it. I wanted something to fall back on engineering wise.
Is one of them the one that we were talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could you, as far as going back to that reservoir discussion, it would be very useful, for me at least, if you could come up with a brief state, like a couple sentences explaining exactly what that, you're gonna take this land that belongs to the Canyon City Rec, and you're going to look to where you're getting your water from and how that's gonna be beneficial, so that if somebody asks me, I can explain it to them
Yeah,
in the right terms. So if you could come up with that would, and just email me, or, email all of us, I think that would be really nice. Just a brief synopsis. Because people are very interested in that reservoir storage and what is that possibility.
We're not likely to get enough storage for a month or,
No,
Something like that.
But I just think it's, I think there's a lot of people who are very interested. in
Yeah,
What's going on with that.
absolutely. Yeah. And just so you know, I've been construction superintendent on a 40-acre reservoir.
fantastic.
I don't know if I really wanted, for good or
Are you
ill,
offering
no,
free services?
but
Yeah.
Just like that, you don't even have to hire anybody, how about that?
It's done, and it's being recorded, so we got.
Yeah. I second the motion.
Yeah.
Is the Louise expansion any part of the conversation?
It is. Yes, that is definitely.
the master plan.
Yes.
I was just gonna ask that, if it's not giving away any company secrets, what are your 4 options you're looking at?
So, Deweese expansion would be one, and I guess since we got a Deweese director, that's very handy. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think the next kind of order of business is talking about that at the next stakeholder meeting, is that correct, in January? Yeah, so I think that one's kind of holding until that meeting, to see if it's something they wanna, go forward with, and then I don't know if you guys have gotten many cost estimates quite yet. I know there was a feasibility study, but I don't know how
Yeah.
much.
One more feasibility test, and that is, against, drilling into the shoulder to raise that 4 feet.
Yep.
This one
Sure.
more, then
Yep.
that would have to cross before we can say, yeah,
Yeah,
as far as feasibility is there.
yeah.
Now, how we're going to take
Yep. So I think that's where the city of Canyon will be more in the conversation when they're looking to see, there's people that wanted to kick in some cash for some storage.
Yeah, the last upper arc meeting, like I said, City of Canyon was mentioned as a possible partner.
Yeah, and we're super interested in it, depending on the price, of course, but yeah, that's definitely one of the options. Rec Pond, being another option. The old Florence. What was the name of that? It's been so long since we talked about that now. Beaver Creek, I want to say. Oak Creek.
Oak Creek.
Thank
It's
you.
the Oak
Oak
Creek,
Creek.
yeah.
Oak Creek
That's
Reservoir.
still on their master plan.
It's still on their master plan. So just a pleasant backstory about that is there's already been a feasibility study done on that back in '93, I want to say. It was not feasible back then. But the hope is with advances in engineering, the price is come back down to where people maybe tolerate it. Now, the downside for that is it's pretty far downstream. So, to build a pipeline back up to us, which would be the best way for us to use the water, it becomes, just no pretty big cost. And then we have one, that's upriver a little bit, talk about too much.
Then there's, thinking outside the box a little bit, if Cotter ever got cleaned up, the one soil conservation survey dam might be usable for storage.
Sure.
There's actually quite a capacity behind that one. Hey Dean, how you doing?
I made it.
Great.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it came from the cheap part of the water, so I.
Okay. So I think that takes care of that particular subject. Then we've got our standing committee topics. Is there any update that we have there? I don't think so. By the way, Leo, are you just listening in? Are you gonna talk to us today
I
or?
got B and C, so.
Oh, okay, all
3B
right.
and 3C.
I got
When you
you.
get there.
Okay, well, I think we're there, so let's irrigation and lateral replacement.
You're on.
That's not on here, sorry. You gotta get that next one. Irrigation lateral replacement program, you all have a draft of this in your agenda packet. This is something that we kind of put together based on a need that we've seen around town. You get a lot of, I'm sure, the people that are here representing the ditches will know, there's a lot of irrigation laterals around town.
Thank you.
A lot of property owners that maybe don't want to take care of them, don't have the means to take care of them. Creates problems not only for them, but for everybody else. So this was a first attempt at maybe a way the city can help resolve some of these. It's modeled nearly identically on the sidewalk replacement program that the city does, where we essentially enter into a cost share agreement with the property owners and help them cover a portion of the cost for that work. Like I said, that's really about it. We did include a little bit of money in our proposed 2024 budget. It wasn't a ton. So there is some money potentially there pending the second reading of the budget next week. But we don't have a real great program guidelines to start implementing it yet. So this is our first attempt and look to get it out there.
I think that's a great idea.
High points of it are, it's really, we're looking to pipe ditches wherever possible. We're looking to have the property owners contract with a contractor themselves for most of the repairs, and then we would reimburse them. We do include some language in there that the city, we could do them ourselves if they're small, simple projects, and, we have the availability and crews to do that under the same premise that the property owner would be responsible for a portion of the cost.
So, Leo, if the city has a cost share, does the city expect in the future then to have a certain amount of authority over those laterals?
No, I don't believe so. We had envisioned having the property owners record like a maintenance agreement when they do this, that says, hey, look, this is the city helping you out once. This is yours forever from now on. You acknowledge that and take ownership of that.
So if the lateral's in the city property, you know, that's not, it's aiding in property or in part of the actual replacement program, it's not 100%. It's not up to the city then to actually pay for all of that lateral if it's in city property.
No, right now, the city only pays for where the laterals cross like an alley or a public street. That's about the extent of our responsibility, and property owners are responsible for 100% of it right now. But like I said, you have a lot of owners that maybe don't even use the ditch water, aren't, you know, taking advantage of it, don't realize that's even their responsibility to maintain. So they just kind of go into disrepair, and then it causes problems, you know, for their neighbors and everybody else when it does back up and fail, and it floods the street or floods somebody
Working
else's
together on that, or if it's in a city area, you know, specifically, there, the city's not on the hook for 100% of that, if it's in 100% of the city property.
I think the draft we have calls out that the city will pay 100% if there's a street crossing that gets done at the same time, or an alley crossing. Something like that that we would do anyways. So.
That's law, right, Leo? That's law. Anytime a ditch goes underneath a public
Yes.
right away, meaning the street, it's whoever owns that street, it's their responsibility to maintain.
And then the way I kind of envisioned it was if you say you owned a corner lot and you wanted to do this program, and we said, well, makes sense to do the street crossing at the same time. All I'm saying is the city would pay for our part of it, the property owner would pay for their part under that proration.
Cause what is it, is that South 8th Street, that all that goes down? That is an issue, but it's all, what I would assume would be all city property, that one lateral. South 8th, is it South 8th? Well, like where we started working. Well, what is it, would be the east side. That lateral that's always spilling over, and that it was all ripped up, but I mean, that whole sidewalk area, basically, you know, I'm looking at both sides of the ditch side and the city side, it's city property or city land, but it's sued. But it's an easement. But it's an easement, not for you.
We've had a couple, like out on Griffin, I think we've looked at a few where there's, you know, 4 or 5 houses that just own 20 or 30 feet, and it's tree roots, and you know, they're not gonna be able to handle it themselves, so this might be another way for that. Douglas, there was another one there on Douglas, and the alley back there that's spilling over and flooding people's backyards, and
It's basically like the
it's a bigger problem
sidewalk.
than they can take care of themselves a lot of times.
Are you talking on the corner of A and where Jim's tire?
No, it's,
There was an issue there for a long time.
yeah, that was one.
You're
And then,
talking like between us and where,
Yeah, basically, and even in that area.
Because
Yeah.
it's on the city easement. People couldn't afford it, so they just ripped out tiles, and then the water is flowing.
Right, cause that's where it gets sticky, it's like, look, the property owner, they're like, well, we don't have ditch water, or the city, it's like, well, we don't wanna do it, nobody wants to do it. In the meantime, people downstream then they're the ones that are really in there, like the sidewalk program, was 50% for replacement, city would do.
Yeah, it's 50% up to the
Roughly.
maximum cost per square foot or something along those lines.
So in that situation, this is what helps that.
Yeah,
As far as cost.
and I'm sure there'd be other times when you maybe have to look at the project and say, who's responsible for that? Cause I know we had something in front of Costars, and they thought, you guys thought it had been done a long time ago, and never had been done, so if we're gonna do it, then we probably want to talk about that. That kind of stuff.
Well, it sounds like this is something that would be, really beneficial.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it'll get used, but it'll at least give us a tool to try for a year, and, you know, like I said, if we go through a first year and nobody's able to take advantage of it, maybe we have to revisit it, or if we go through the first year and it's used up within the first month, you know, maybe that's another reason to.
So it's first come, first served,
I think that would be our intent. That's how we handle the sidewalk one.
right? That's the facade program.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Chair, if I can ask a question, though,
Sure.
Leo, it is a little different because we're talking about ditch companies, right? We're talking about the laterals related So have they been involved in this discussion at all, the ones that are within the city limits, or do they need to be?
Well, we invited a couple of them today, I think.
All right,
The companies, the ditch companies are responsible for the main.
right,
We're, yeah, for the main channel and the shareholders who use, at least under our ditch, they are likewise responsible for their head gates. If
mhm,
we permit them, they're responsible for bulkheads. If we permit them, the ditch company, like Arlen said, is
Mhm.
only responsible for the main
Right.
ditch.
and that's,
Good example, this ice, we got a call out on Sherwood and this guy's backyard. And he wanted the ditch company to do something. And I said, I appreciate your concern, but we're not responsible for lateral, I'm sorry.
right.
And he says, well, who is responsible? And I said,
You brought a mirror.
the
and-
user. The
Well, and that-
users on that lateral are responsible.
Right, and that matches with my experience. I've owned shares in Canyon Heights, and that's my understanding. I just didn't know if there needed to be any communication, but if the ditch companies are at least aware that the city's looking at this policy, then sounds
Yeah, I mean,
good.
we're certainly open to y'all any comments, but we thought if, you'd probably see it as a benefit to give those instances, you could point them a little bit back towards us and say, hey, maybe this is something you as lateral owners want to look at if there's a correctable issue.
When this first came up, I was concerned in the fact, not from a ditch company point of view, but from a city point of view. That it could lead into, if let go or use a lot of costs for the city. And I personally, as a ditch company president, I would rather have the lateral owners be responsible for their lateral.
Well, I think that's still the case, because like I'm on a lateral and I was on the Lincoln Park pump ditch board as well. And, ours is, the ditch maintains, but they even maintain the main gates. But after that, the lateral that comes through 4, 5 properties, that's not what we're talking about here, because there's no streets anywhere near this. So it's just the laterals that are right along the street, is the way I'm taking at it, correct?
That's the only ones that are eligible under the
Right.
grant program is those within a public right of way.
Right.
Right.
And I think we did cap the maximum amount per year, and it's through Tabor's, whatever the city council believes, they budget $20,000, we can't spend $20,001.
Yeah.
The cost is, it's, if you do it all and we decide it's not a worthwhile program the first year, maybe we don't even allocate a budget next year.
So then maybe, does it need to be sunshined at the end of the year? Or
It
no?
would be subject to a budget allocation every year.
A real quick question, maybe slightly off, but what about the city ordinance that tells the people that I have to hand you all of the lateral owners? This is your responsibility. Who actually can we get to enforce that?
I don't have a good answer for you there.
It probably would not be the city.
But
Because
it is
that-
a city
It's
ordinance.
city ordinance.
Well,
Yeah.
This is just to help.
this is just to help pay.
This is, it's like I said, it's slightly off subject, but we're still basically working in a hole here as a lateral. So if I go up to this person and say, you can go to the city and they can help replace this or not, it's still your responsibility, whether it's you want to use this program or not.
Yeah,
But I don't know how to get this code enforced. I can hand them the piece of paper that shows the code, and I do, I hand them when they start arguing with me, here it is. This is a city ordinance. Where does it go from once I hand it? Because they're still gonna, yeah.
Right.
And
I don't have a great answer for you.
the neighbors are-
It's one of those ones, if you enforce it to the letter, then the city's gonna go out there and repair it, put a lien on a house, and it's just this big circular
Right.
situation that doesn't end up good for anybody. So,
Yeah, and this, I don't know if you call it an ordinance, it's more just like a program.
Yeah.
But it's,
I think
what
it's
you're
kind of
saying,
running
yes.
counter to
There's
the
a
ordinance that we're not
Separate ordinance.
Mhm.
very strictly
Or
enforced.
separate ordinance saying that it is their
Think it's
responsibility,
title.
so what he's saying is, how do we enforce that
Yeah.
separate?
Right.
But it's.
It falls back on the ditch company then, and they're,
No, it falls back on the,
Well, but
the owner.
The lateral.
it's their responsibility. It's
The owner.
the owner.
Right.
Yeah, it's not, it's any
But we can't get-
laterals aren't. the
If I come up to you and you're telling me you don't have water shares and I'm telling you, you have to clean that no matter what. You know what they usually say? It's not usually nice.
Well, they have water shares to clean out laterals.
That
And on the tweets.
I mean, it's
a huge point. It's a huge point. And it's one I deal with at the garden center all the time when people go, well, we hear this is Brady ditch and here Brady's under thing. And so people are like, I don't have, ditch shares, but yet they're telling me we have to clean it or we have to maintain it. And they're like, that ain't cool, And then when it's not cool, and then again, that goes to the ordinance, the city ordinance, it's like, whose responsibility is it to enforce it if it doesn't get? And then if it is a lateral on said city property, then it's like, well, is it all just being dumped onto the city, or with this program, at least that money, you can say, hey, we can start, it's not gonna pay for all of it, but for some of it, and I would give you a little bit of power, but then the other one is, as a ditch owner like I am, where it comes down, say the garden center, that's actually state property, so it's a highway, so that gets even more so fun where but usually the state will work with you on that too. And replace it, but that's where I have not only property owners there, but then they're like, oh, but it's state.
We're running into the same thing with the reason, part of our tailwater runs off the south side of 115 by the gas station over there. And when they won't clean out the ditch, but anyhow, then it comes out on the highway, but then it becomes a safety issue. So I call the highway department and they say, that's not our problem. I said, it's your right of way though. Well, but if there's water on it, that's your water. You need to clean it out. I said, we don't have the manpower or the equipment to clean it out. So, or the safety features, flaggers and all of that. And so that's where that ball is set, right in the middle of the road. They won't do it, and you gotta have a company on board to do it, it becomes a safety issue.
And that's a huge sticking point of all the ditches, right now with the irrigation between the city, the ditch owner, the end user, it's like, it's tough. And I deal with it on a daily basis when the ditch is on.
I think as far as the responsibility though, this is it's a lot like, for most people don't understand ditches, they don't understand why we have ditches, they don't want to have anything to do with it. But if you go back to the sidewalk thing, that sidewalk in front of your house, the trees in front, between the sidewalk and the street, they're your responsibility to take care of it. But if your sidewalk's broken up, the city can help. If your tree is dying on there, they will come and help you. The city's being friendly and helping you deal with those parts that most people have no idea that even that help exists. But when they find out about it, they think more kindly of everyone. So I think, and I've got the ditch people, they got the city people, they like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's great. They finally doing something for us.
No, and
That's the
I,
kind of comments we can make.
I think this is great,
Yeah.
because it is, it's
I think
just,
it's-
I think it's simple, because it's right, just involving the, right along the street.
Yeah.
There's not a misconception of this is taking care of all the laterals on every ditch company.
Mhm.
I kind of wish it was, but it's not, I mean, just.
Good. It's gonna take a few more dollars.
Yeah, it would take a lot more dollars, but, no, I think it's
I think it's great.
I do too.
See what happens.
Like you said, it's a kind of a small risk to try it the first year and see how it shakes out, was my view of it.
No, I think it's a good idea.
Awesome.
Yeah,
We budgeted $20,000 this year. I think we budgeted around 35,000 for sidewalk replacement each year, so we kind of started a little small,
Have you
And
looked
see how
at
it
some
goes.
sort of a priority system to kind of judge what condition things are in to say this one goes in front of this one this year or in the
Probably treat it first
future?
come, first serve.
Currently, yes.
Right, that's how we would do it. I guess in the future, if we exhausted all our money quickly and, maybe we had to revisit that, but like I said, we haven't. I've only been here a year, so it's not like I've got
If you get,
miles of experience. I don't know that we've typically utilized the full value of that sidewalk replacement
I
program.
think
That's
it has.
kind
I
of
know
modeled on this.
Runs out. I
Yeah.
can't quite
if you
tell
were
that.
flooded with people, then you had to start making decisions.
Yeah.
Would you
Well,
prioritize at that point?
I
then?
think you come up with some
we
kind of
would,
stories.
we would have. to-
Yeah.
And I think there is.
Just wondering about that. I like the idea. I'd like to hear Pueblo is doing something with sidewalk replacement. But that's another town, another story.
Yeah, that'll be coming at some point, that discussion will.
You got
Not to the
connections
water
down there?
committee though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I hear you.
I have
Andrew.
a question, for the ditch representatives. Is there some way that, we could do a better job because of all the urbanization? We have a lot of people moving in here from all different states, who have no idea what an irrigation ditch is. And they may not realize that they have a lateral, that is a lateral. Is there some way to work with the realtors?
Yeah.
Or some other to,
That's what I was thinking.
That's
to
your
get,
source.
let them know,
I agree
just
totally.
give them a little information packet. This is your ditch.
That-
Your responsibility is the lateral. And, you know, maybe you guys could go together and put together a little info pack, just a brochure.
Yeah,
Well,
we-
I know our ditch, Lincoln Park ditch, you know, they go out and introduce themselves and talk to them and tell them, give them bylaws and that, and just talk to them and meet the people. So I know on Lincoln Park ditch,
Do the other ditches do, the rest of
On
them
the
do?
Dewey Stitch, we have that paperwork and all the title companies.
Uh-huh.
So when the process is done, they get this form. If they have, did share, then they know
That's
the
great.
history and.
So they have access to that. It's not like they're coming in
If they
blind.
have
Okay.
ditch shares, yeah, it should be in the closing. packet.
Within the
But if
closing
they
packet, yeah.
don't, And there's a lateral that comes in, that's the
Right.
ones that don't.
That's the one.
That's stupid.
Or you
Do they know before they buy that they have to maintain that?
Realize you're signing for.
Well, of course, realtors
I
aren't telling
once a
them.
year when we get our bill for the water too, it's your responsibility.
Right, but that's your deal on shares, different.
For which ditch you?
It's been my experience that realtors, if they're conveying any information that might put the kibosh on the sale, are not interested.
Sure.
Exactly.
No, it had to be something that would encourage.
We all hear that. Well, hear that.
Somebody moves into
Money.
the home and they've got 1/4 share of irrigation water, I'm just talking under Oil Creek. And the realtor tells them, got all the water you need.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a garden hose is about it. So, but I have another issue here. Irrigation ditches are private entities.
Yeah.
Okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, but at each one of our meetings here, and this is just an example, we have introduced a new ordinance. Kinda, is that true?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not at every single one, but we've introduced quite a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the well
well,
water
sure.
one.
I guess I have an issue. You guys all know me, you know, and I really believe it comes to a point, and this is one of them, that the private Oil Creek Ditch Company needs to take care or inform their users. I can't see another word. Sorry.
Is it just a concern of spending public taxpayer dollars?
No,
Private
no,
viewing
it's
system?
just an act, it's the fact of ordinance after ordinance.
I guess.
So,
Well, this
so,
one's not an ordinance, this is just.
Yeah, this is-
this is program.
Well, it can't be. Yeah, but I don't think, personally, I don't think the city, or I think that's opening up a can of worms that maybe doesn't want to be open, from my point of view.
well, and that could be, Doug, that could be, and that's Leo's point, that right now, this is just a one-year program.
Try it.
And we've got a little money set aside to make the program work. And if if a bunch of worms or snakes or whatever crawls out, then it doesn't, there's no guarantee it's gonna happen next. So,
And this is just for laterals right at the roads. I mean,
yeah,
that's-
on public
Yeah, I
property.
mean, that's
For
it.
public right
So,
of way.
And nothing new. It's replacement, if I understand
Yeah,
it right.
just
Right.
nothing to
Work on
nothing replacement.
Just
So would this
replacement.
include like using city tools to say clog or jetting system or vacuum? Of course, vacuums are stormwater and then there's sanitation, which is separate, but does the city have a back truck? They got, well, a jetter or even like a back truck and the serious, more, a little bit more serious. Yeah, I was gonna say, if they got that, can be easier, would that be part of the program?
Yeah, can we
See,
borrow it?
that's where we start crossing between
Well,
the
maintenance
ditch,
versus
maintenance of a
program.
ditch and the city getting involved and that's where Doug's saying, hey, keep the city out.
But if you
I agree with him.
replace, clean out a line versus replace too, I mean, that's another one to be like, that can save some money overall and a lot of headache, but then that's what the property owners have got to go in and do that, but it saves money if you could clean out a lateral instead of replacement. I mean, replacement.
If that was an option, we would definitely point the property owner toward that, we just wouldn't be involved in helping design this.
Right.
I'm not gonna charge them to replace a lateral and make them pay $5,000 if they could call Birds and get it jetted for, $600 or whatever it is,
The
but.
option, they don't want to pay anything, and I bet what we come across, like, well, hire Bird, which I've done, at my laterals to come and clean out my lines, and then, but most people are like, shit, I can spend $1 on it, it's like, well, then that's where the enforcement goes in, and like, with your point with the ordinance. It's kind of like, but if this is not an ordinance, so it's not, it's a program and not an ordinance, but like, you're thinking of an ordinance, one more.
Well,
And they can't be divorced anyway, really, I mean, with any team, it's just.
And as you're saying this, you look at the ditch companies, you look how old they are, and you look at a lot of the lines that are within the city limits, or even outside the city limits. We've got lines that are, they're caving in, and, I mean, that, I know you've helped even on our ditch, and, Lincoln Park, we're trying to do everything we can to replace all our lines, but it's expensive. I mean, it's extremely expensive, and ditch companies don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, and that's where we're trying to keep with the affordable water, with the affordable irrigation water. Not only for our businesses, but for my personal property, which I'd like to maintain, and most of you folks here actually are on. On some kind of a ditch share or own, so that's good to see, but to maintain that's a real important part.
Okay, the other comments?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, previous to Leo, the city engineer decided any development along East Main Street had to encase our ditch. Number one, I don't believe they have the right to do that. It was a burden upon the developer to do it if they wanted to do that. Okay? So along comes 811. And we've got now what was open ditch, we have it encased. So now they want us to join 811, which is almost cost prohibitive for a small ditch company.
Who's they? Who's they, Doug?
What's that?
Who's they? You said they want us to join it.
Oh,
Who is
the
they?
state, it's a law.
Oh,
811's a law,
okay.
okay? But.
They want the ditch company.
Yeah, well, no, what they want is you have to. You're supposed to, by law, join 811, okay? Which is a state program, which works great for Colorado Springs North. But down here, you have to pay to join. Then you have to pay for them to make every call to a ditch company that involves a person to answer these phone calls. You have to map your ditch. And it becomes it becomes quite a burden on small ditch companies.
But that's for the enclosed or piped portion.
Underground,
The underground piped portions.
right?
They're not open channels or anything like that.
Oh, no, but we are kind of checking into it. We don't know if it includes, you have to do your whole ditch or just the enclosed sections. It should be just the enclosed sections. I would think. Leo straightened me out on city's responsibility there, right, Leo?
Yes.
And that's the deal, right? Okay. So the city will cover 811 if it's in a right of way to include hard surfaces, right, Leo? Would that include the sidewalks also?
We have it mapped and it's under the hard surface, we'll mark it. Right, Jared does, I believe that's the way it goes.
So not the ditch company's fault, but once again, another unintended consequence that if a ditch company decides to join 811, it becomes an added expense for a shareholder, which already they don't like to pay. Yeah, don't join.
Is an 811 just for public right of ways?
No, no, it is not. It's like, take East Main, for example. It's curved and gutters. Our ditch to the south of that, probably 15 feet, 10 to 15 feet.
On East Main?
On East Main, along East Main on the south side. So if you join 811, that means that you have to get all the ditch GIS that's underground. And you dedicate or tell them how much footage you want from center to each side on your ditch that's encased. And then if your location of where you think your ditch is, like on our ditch, where Oil Creek goes underneath 9th Street and comes back up. That's a long time ago, guys. I don't even know if anybody knows.
I've got, excuse me, do have something else I've got to do here, so I've got to take off. Travis and Tim will handle the meeting from here, but thank you all.
Probably for the,
Yeah.
Merry
Yeah, Merry
for
Christmas,
this
everybody.
program, that 811 issue probably doesn't affect it. Or would affect it.
Mhm, okay.
Doesn't affect
What you're talking about, this program wouldn't affect that.
possibly not,
I think you're talking something.
but anything that's underground needs to be part of 811 if it could be dug up.
Okay, I was in the meeting where you were too, and kind of what brought it about is there was a problem with the hydraulic that goes under right near Home Depot, but it's right at the edge of what happens is and goes say Home Depot, for instance, they had someone drilling in this area, they had a backhoe in there. And the backhoe operator is legally obligated to call 811 or 811. And when he called, the hydraulic ditch that was under there that was encased underneath it did not come up. He drilled through it. It cost a bloody fortune to fix,
So that's where all the.
but here's the deal.
It's
Home
still
Depot,
not-
Home Depot and the excavator were not liable because they weren't with 811. If you're not an 811 and someone drills through an underground, you're out of luck. You got paid for it.
And not only to repair your pipe, the company that's doing the work for you, or doing the work where the break is, they can also sue for their time.
Yeah, so it's a big
It is
expense,
a tremendous burden.
but
It
it's,
sounds like a different subject that we
Right.
should discuss besides.
yeah, because, right. It was just,
Well, a different.
yeah.
Right.
In a
Yes,
way,
worthwhile discussing.
except when somebody dictates that a pipe has to be put underground when they want to develop, that then becomes the responsibility of the ditch company
Didn't you say the city was gonna locate that for you?
Locate what?
That pipe, aren't you guys? gonna
Like
locate that?
underneath streets and stuff, we don't locate variable laterals. So like,
But the main one that he's talking about, then it's main.
I don't think that we would locate that.
It's not
I
under
think-
the pavement.
Yeah, if it's
I
not
I
underneath the
think
pavement.
Doug's,
No, it's
Doug's
not
point
on-
was
right
that
outside the
because of, I think Doug's point is because of prior ordinances and dictations from prior city employees, this caused a lot of problems, which led to this potential idea of that you need to join 811. So, and so I think that's what you're saying is every time you put something on, it has down specs that with other people, but that person's gone now, so.
That's true, but
And that so far, Doug, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
The
I
repercussions
totally agree
still
about the
exist.
repercussions of all the birds. But so far, we have a program that we've approved. We talked about the well permit and the other ordinance was one to do about, allowing people to buy into the water right, Travis, for Aries. That was the only thing we had that we covered. We basically had two ordinances and one reimbursement. That's all we
Yeah,
have.
and a resolution.
The problem is it comes up because it has to be gone to city council and then they can send it back. What do you think about this wording? And then we get it back. So we're just talking about the same one. But I understand. I
Okay.
agree. We don't want to burden ourselves with lots of rules and regulations.
Every time we plant a tree, they have to call.
Right, you have to call every time.
And
yeah.
if you're in, you must respond, but it says you don't have a water or not, but we have to, like, say, a city tree, that the city paid for the tree to be replaced, but the customer wants us to plant it. You know, we have to go out, we call everyone, it is the law. And gas, phone, electric is all called, but all of them have to respond back, and to his point, that means the ditch companies in that area too have to respond back, clear or not. And that would be a huge burden on the ditch company.
But-
Sure.
but-
How much was the burden to pay for?
Yeah, how much is the burden to pay for that big thing? That's the thing. If you join on 811, now you, all your stuff is marked, and I know that's a big expense, but maybe it should be marked. Maybe for the future, it should be that, so that now, when I call 811, when I want to do something on my property, everybody comes out, they mark everything, then I no longer have to worry about breaking that gas pipeline or breaking the water line and being responsible as a homeowner for that, because I bought into 811. It's a service that I think the ditch owners, shareholders should be willing to pay for because it reduces future liability. That's the
But it's, yeah, the time well spent on it would be.
Yes, if I feel like $40-50 a month in those 811 calls, the fees that we have to pay.
Yeah,
But when.
but it's like, it's
Somebody
insurance,
wants-
it's an insurance policy, you're basically buying an insurance
Once
policy,
he marks
insurance
that,
policies
then
are
it's
generally good ideas.
their responsibility.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
what
Sorry
I'm,
to bring it, go ahead.
Yeah,
what I'm hearing is the only time you're underground is on a roadway.
No,
no,
No.
no, they have a budget, they have.
no, there's other places where we are below ground, almost all along, let's say from Free Church.
Yeah.
East to the car wash
Due to development.
through development.
So that section,
That what?
through that section,
Yes,
you would need to be notified for those areas. You'd have to let them know where you're at, if they
Mhm.
wanted to do something there. But outside of those areas,
so if it's an open ditch, you're saying that you don't have to.
yeah, I mean,
Well-
they can tell us, they're not gonna damage a pipe or your.
Right.
No,
You're-
that's very true.
So my original thought here was, you're saying it's great for Springs and North. Can you petition to say, we don't have enough linear feet, or we're too small of an organization to be cost effective for 811, or to buy into this? This is how much we have, and this is where we're affected. And they have like the sewer line locators. You don't know where your line is from decades ago on 9th or what have you mentioned. Trace that line somehow, figure out where it's at. But put some money into it now, so that you know that information, map it out in those areas that you have. And now you fix those problems in those areas that you do have some pipe. And unless it's in that area, you're good, but I would push back and say, like you're saying, we can't afford to do this. We can't do the whole state 811. And in this community, when you dig in these areas, then we need a call, but outside of that, we're not gonna buy into the whole state program. What is how I would approach it as a owner like yourselves. And then, Doug, when you were talking about, is that right, Doug? You're
Right
talking,
here.
okay, sorry, you were talking about,
Yeah.
Brady? You were talking about the ordinance with, how do you enforce that? Does that go back to, it's not on the city, it's on the ditch because it's privately owned, right?
Well, it's on the city easement, but it's a city ordinance.
Right, so,
Actually, that's it. It's
the city ordinance.
And it's on the radio every frame, they put it, they bugged it, they put it in paper.
Like-
I just started looking all the time, I've got on the call, and I handed it to them. So I got some sort of a backing to explain to them why they have claims. Now, they can read it, it's black and white, and they
Yeah.
still don't get it. So then, my question is, where do you go from there?
like this
You go to code
ordinance,
enforcement. You don't wanna go to code.
if
You don't wanna.
if you know about somebody with a well that's tying into it and using it for potable water, then there is somebody that can do something about it. You're saying, who's somebody to do something about that? So who, the question, I guess, is who is somebody to do something about the ditch?
We probably need to readdress this at a later time, but.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but it's, yeah.
So I thought it was a good topic maybe for a later date, is that ditch ordinance.
You can go hours.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
every day comes to have different view.
Well,
Now we gotta-
I like the idea of the,
Yeah.
I like the idea of this.
You just wanted to run down to the meeting after the fact.
Stormwater maintenance agreement.
So yeah, I think we can move on. We got another hour, so
Yeah. Thank you.
let's move on to C.
All right, item C is a stormwater maintenance agreement. This is something that our stormwater side is looking to put into effect pretty soon, hopefully at least by the first of the year, if not sooner. What this does is informs the property owners of their responsibility to take care of any water quality features that they install. So if you have a extended detention basin on your property or a, catch basin that treats the water before it discharges, that's often the property owner's responsibility to take care of. It's something, again, like ditch laterals that people don't know about when they buy a piece of property, that's mine. We've had a couple instances where property owners have bought a parcel and torn out something that was there for a purpose without knowing that they were doing that. And we had to go round and round on it. So this is really just trying to codify that, make sure it pops up in the title work, make sure people are aware of those requirements as properties change hands and ownership changes hands. It comes from our state MS4 permit, which regulates all of our stormwater discharges that make it back to the state. So really, it's not enforcing anything new, but we're trying to make sure we're letting people know of their responsibilities as properties change hands in case, time moves on.
Kind of like the well thing.
It is.
Something you can point to.
Yep, and we did go present this to the Realtors Association a couple weeks ago to get it in front of them and get some feedback from them on it as well, just, they always like to know about things popping up on title work and make sure they're informed about it. They all thought it was well needed and had some good questions, but overall, we're pretty supportive of the effort.
So would this whole agreement be attached to the title work?
Yeah.
On property, and would it be attached only to properties that had existing
Only the
stormwater?
new ones that come up. We wouldn't go backwards and attach it all.
No, only new ones.
Yeah.
But say, for example, when it's not just a general stormwater, because everybody has runoff off their property, then eventually goes to stormwater.
Yep.
Would it be every property, or would it be properties that have a known
Facility.
stormwater?
It's only properties that have an installed like water quality feature. So you have to have an extended detention basin on your site or something that. Sometimes I'm trying to think of what it is it, Wolf Park subdivision is responsible for a couple of the basins, so it would come up on the HOA ordinance, maybe as opposed to each individual parcel there. mostly commercial, industrial developments over an acre. Wouldn't apply to single residential parcel.
Okay, that's the,
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
yeah. So, and only new ones that are.
Only new ones that are changing. Yeah, we do, I would say maybe 3 or 4 a year that kind of come up through this type scenario. Like the RVs that's going in right now with, that we're reviewing
Right.
plans for there. They have a little bit on their site that would just kind of define that responsibility.
So say you bought a property that had an existing stormwater thing on it, basin or whatever, but it's no longer really functional.
Mhm.
I think, would then you be responsible for, would the city help the new owner with any kind of like re-engineering or design features to that property?
I mean, if you were changing the property.
No, so
Sure, if
you're
you were
not
just buying
changing
it
the
and
property.
reusing it. We inspect all of them every year, so you should never get in a situation where you
Okay.
buy one that's been neglected for
inspection.
10 years. What we run into is a property changes hands, we go do an inspection. We inform the new owner that, hey, you've got to do X, Y, Z to get this thing in compliance. They're like, I didn't know anything about that. I
Right.
didn't realize that was mine to take care of. That's what we're trying to avoid. Make
Okay,
sure they know that ahead of time. And that the sellers can convey that to buyers.
is there a place you can go look at the inspections for every year?
I don't know that we post them publicly, but we do have them available. So if you request it for a particular parcel, we did tell all the realtors that too. If you're selling a parcel and you have a question, get a hold of us, we'll tell you if there's a feature on the site, we can give you the inspection history of what the issues are to help. Help make sure that the sale goes smoothly.
Okay. While I'm thinking of it, this is a question, is there anywhere you can go to find out old septic system?
I think the county maintains records of it.
Do they? I would
Well,
think-
the only time I've had to do it was Skyline Steel had 2 septic tanks on it.
Yeah,
They didn't
see,
have record of them,
I-
but we could see they were there.
Yeah,
So
see,
I don't know how
yeah,
great their
they're
records are,
probably
but
good.
they do maintain them through the health department.
Okay, I was just curious.
The city doesn't, but I don't believe. Anywhere that I've seen.
Just find them.
Yeah, those would be 100 years old if they were.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
Skyline Steel. Is.
Okay,
All right.
well, I think it's a good idea.
Skyline Steel doesn't have one.
That was it. Any other comments on that one?
So
Thank you.
read through this and get back to,
Yeah, that's fine. We're not in a big rush on it.
yeah, are you gonna, is this something that has to go from the city council?
To ask. That's right on that. I know. A lot of our standard form agreements don't come to council each time.
Okay,
Like if we do license agreements or, other things for, if you wanna put a bench or something in the public right away that you own and maintain, those kind of things. I would think this would follow that, but I'll have to check and see what they do.
Some of them do like, the water service.
Water
agreements.
service
Right.
agreements,
Those have to go through council.
that's a standard form.
So it kind of depends, and that's kind of an attorney. And we'll ask them whether it's just a Ryan signature or whether it has to be a mayor signature.
and I mean, well, I personally think this is anytime that you can give more information to somebody's property as to what the standards are and what has to be done, I think that's a good thing. So you're not blindsided. What?
All right, D, possible guest speaker from the Forest Service. She's gonna come talk to us in February, it looks like. She does some water rights stuff for the Forest Service, so we'll give a little presentation on that. Any public comment? We do have some public here for this one, so.
No, they are.
Anybody?
They commented a bunch.
You can always count.
Oh,
Yeah.
We have ditch representatives here, so.
Well, we do have ditch representative. Do you guys have anything else that you've had, any birds under the old saddle that you would like to get out in the open? I mean,
No, other than stormwater,
yeah, stormwater is the constant. It sure is.
I think I would pose a question that I just thought about today when I was walking along a county road over to Torrance and was looking at some of the dry ditches in the state that they're in right now. What do you guys see as the future of ditches in general? Because
going away.
Things are changing. Well, and maybe they don't go away, but maybe the way they're run goes away because, or changes. Because you guys, the generation we are is gonna go away. And there's gonna be left with people, younger people who don't care.
Can I tell you what we do?
What?
No.
Just about nothing. Because every annual meeting, I say it 2 or 3 times, is there anybody that would be willing to serve on this district?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No. No.
They don't
And
want the
you
responsibility.
you can't even get into that meetings because you don't have a quorum, almost
Oh, we
very
do.
few that you guys do, but the South Canyon Ditch hasn't had a quorum. We usually have a quorum in Dewey's, the Crooked Ditch.
Lincoln Park has it.
Lincoln Park usually has, but I'm just saying, it's a changing environment. I think that
Right.
as a community that's very involved with ditches, I think we should look to what does the future of running our ditches look like?
Well, and I
Maybe
can,
they need to be, I don't know, maybe
Some
a
kind-
major change.
well,
kind of
and some of the, you know, each ditch is different because,
Right.
you know, if you own, you know, a ditch on South Canyon, your ditch shares are worth something.
Right. Or hydraulic or Oil Creek.
But if you own a ditch share on Lincoln Park ditch,
Yeah,
it's not worth anything.
no,
But a lot of people have turned in their ditch shares over the years. I've seen that up in Lincoln Park. So what does that do? It just puts more burden on the people who still have their shares.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, Dewey's and all the ditches are only as good as the water that falls from the sky.
And then it goes back to this program, I mean, it's a good thing that we're putting money towards maintaining. the ditches,
Yeah,
you know, and trying
that's
to maintain the laterals.
a lot, even on those streets, absolutely.
It's a thing I like.
So Beth, do you have any ideas?
No, I mean, I just started thinking about it today, and I think that it's something that should start to be discussed, because maybe it needs to be in this area. You know, you might think maybe we consolidate the ditches and make them one big unit. I
I see
know,
sheds.
that, I don't.
Not a chance that's gonna happen.
I know, because I know.
I'm sorry, I think everybody here would agree to that.
No, and I agree, but the problem thing is 20 years from now, this whole room.
Right.
None
You-
of us
You've
are
got
here. None
rights,
of us are here 20 years from
right,
now.
and
or
you've got
not
rights
very
of
close.
value. There's value.
Travis is.
The city's here.
Set up with more age, I guess.
85, and and we can talk, and we can sit around the table, but doing much anymore.
What we've seen, what we've seen some is what it's gonna take is for somebody to actually leave, right? Cause when you have a comfort blanket of a Doug or any one of you guys, you know, people don't step up. But
Right.
people
Right.
step up a little more when that comfort blanket goes away.
Right,
How many people get down in the river today and yesterday for several hours, pull our boards out and
Well-
shut our head gates and it's
and there are people.
damn cold.
There are people, I mean, that's what I take, you know, there are people who are involved in the current water environment that are 20 years younger, 30 years younger. than
Oh,
us.
they're
Yeah,
coming
There's
up.
lots of them, I mean, I think of a lot of them, so I think there is hope for the future, but I just think the old guard needs to look, to what does your future look like?
I think that one of the issues is you've got this thing of value, the water rights,
Yeah,
but you have a cost to maintain and preserve and improve
right,
that a lot of these companies just can't do what they
Right.
really know they need to do. So something has to change. We don't know what, but
yeah.
You know, once again, it's in state law. That irrigation companies need to maintain their main stem,
Right,
okay? They can't be leaving it go and flooding people out, and things like that, so it behooves the ditch company, along with the fact it behooves the ditch company to keep their ditches in good condition. And so you're not having to shut down in the middle of summer.
no, I agree, but I just think, you know,
how they're
Times are
managed is, yeah,
The Dewey's ditch, the bylaws state that the water shares stay with the property.
right.
That's where Penrose and some of the other Rocky Ford and those fall, that they
Yeah.
sell them
Right.
their way, and now
Right.
they've got dry land somebody that still has water shares, but doesn't do any good.
Doesn't do me good.
So we maintain that. That's what's gonna keep Dewey's going the longest. But
Mhm,
10% of our shares, total shares, the ditch company owns,
mhm,
because people have forfeited.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out how someone next door could lease those shares so we could get revenue from them.
right,
So that's.
Sell them cheap.
it's a cash flow
Let's
issue.
sell them cheap. Oh, you can't, cause they gotta stay with the property. Change the
I'll
buy.
take
Well, see, that's the thing, is that's the other part,
That's
stays
a
with the
real-
property.
A real concern for us when we talk about the extension of the dam, increasing capacity there is. Right now, the shareholders own that dam and the whole influence to Lincoln Park. If we get more stake owners in that, BLM owns some, Upper Arkansas Water owns some storage in there. Round Mountain, the water system out of Westfield owns some shares in there. So if we raised it 4 feet, that'll give us another 1,500 acre feet. It's around $4 million to extend that. That's just a rough guess right now. So who's gonna pay for that? We surely can't pay for it because it isn't gonna increase our water. All it's gonna do is increase the availability in a good year. So we maybe can only use that extra storage 1 out of 5 years or 1 out of 4 years. So it's not a huge asset of benefit to the Dewey shareholders. For us, it cost up $4 million. So we're looking like Canyon City, Florence, Penrose for that additional money. But then, what Doug was talking about, when do we lose control of
Mhm.
that water? And the day that we lose control of that, then it's gonna go to Fountain, it's gonna go to Colorado.
Right,
And
and no, and I agree totally, and I think that's why I think that you, when you look at this area, you need to look at the whole package, you need to look at. Say, so for example, if you have agricultural land now and you wanna maintain that agricultural land, you can do things like put it into a conservation trust. That is a very good thing for you, it can be very good tax wise, and you could potentially sell those tax credits to an investor somewhere else. So it becomes a win-win situation for everybody. The same with wetlands, it's the same kind of thing. You can put those into a conservation, you can sell those tax credits. That's very valuable to you and very valuable to other people. If you did something like that with the water here, you know, so you have a whole package. You say we want to maintain our land, we want to maintain our water, we want to maintain the value of this area for what it currently is.
Mhm.
And you do that by putting it into a package that becomes valuable to people in other areas to invest in. So that you don't sell your water, you keep your valuable water, but it's a win-win situation. And I don't know enough about it to say, but I'm just thinking that, you know, that was one of the things we talked about is that would be one way we can maintain our open spaces and our water here is by bringing somebody in who could look at it and maybe look at some advantageous programs that we could present to people. I think that would be one way that you could get more value out of your ditch water and out of your water and out of your agricultural land. I think it would be worth pursuing and, you know.
Back when I was in my 30s and on Dewey Stick, I relied on the Ray Bennett's of the world
Right,
that were our age now,
yeah,
back then.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, you know it all, you take care of it. That's what these guys are doing now with us. But you got Travis, you got
No,
the Blake
Travis,
Osborne's, and
yeah, no, no, we do have people, yeah.
they'll do what we did. They'll step up.
I think we're getting close to the point where people really realize the value of the water.
Right,
And until that happens, we will struggle along like this.
right.
There's gonna come a day when you just can't drink oil.
Right,
I mean,
No.
you can walk to the grocery store, but you need water to.
and water is life,
So.
that water
All
is
kinds of things are.
Nothing happens without water.
That's right.
Yeah.
And no matter how,
have is the city, if they raise price of the water, that gives us more benefit.
No, I think, yeah,
And the only way we're gonna keep the water here, bottom line is fight.
no,
Fight for your water.
I agree.
And if we don't fight for it, we
lay down.
Mhm.
No,
They
I,
will.
I agree. When we were walking around our neighborhood up in Douglas County, which at the time didn't have a reservoir, Douglas County used to have a reservoir. The only thing you had was wells, and so we were walking around our neighborhood, we all had our own wells. And this guy said, hey, you can move down to the Canyon City area, you can buy 2 acres of land, you can get water rights, you can get, you can have a piece of property, it was affordable. And that's when he sold it, and that's why we came down.
Mm.
Because, and we still have those wells up there, but they're not gonna last forever.
Mm-mm.
And they have a reservoir now, which is a good thing, but that's,
San Luis Valley.
yeah, it's San Luis Valley.
Right.
Every little
Or
chunk of
Crowley
ground
County.
in the backyard that produces a garden feeds somebody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just
It's
going
got,
away.
it's got value.
And I've been trying to spread the word and as a community, hopefully keeping the water. I mean, that's what the community, what interests me to get
We
on
just need to
here.
keep
but-
on, that's what we need to keep on educating people on what ditches are, what laterals are, what
Right.
water rights are, and how you maintain.
I'm trying to get
how
people to
valuable it is.
use them and try to get it back, that
Yeah.
younger generation, it's not really gardening anymore, but.
Yeah, no,
No,
they're,
they're not necessarily putting them on, but just to keep
Dang
the
it.
plants, keep the tree, yeah, I'm like, well, hell yeah, I wanna be lawns and flowers and, every hanging basket in the front and back.
you do a good job with seeds.
Yeah, it's good, but and that's where, but back in the day, like right up here where we live in the South Canyon days, everybody has a little front lawn and a little back garden area and we utilize the ditch water and now it's the park on the front and rock the back. You wonder why the trees are there.
And it's easier to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, most people think that's where water comes from. Well, you just turn on the knob.
No, I
Wait,
was thinking
you
credit.
know.
I just go, it's this looks magic.
Yeah.
Well, at the last upper arc meeting, there was some talk on the legislative update on that bill that there's a couple guys gonna introduce it in the legislature, probably January, more likely February, to help municipalities change lawns into xeriscaping. I know we talked about it in this committee a couple of times.
Yeah.
It looks like they are gonna actually move forward with that. Obviously, we won't get a bill number until probably February.
And I thought, I think Pueblo Community College might be a really good place that they might have some students that might want to take that on as an intern or as a capstone project, same way with the high school. At planting garden up at somewhere up, planting a xeriscape up at PCC. And they have land up there, they have good soil up there, they had all those gardens up there in the past. And that might be a really good place to do it, something like that. It's easy to see, easy to get to. I thought about that when I was up there.
All the women inmates used to do that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
I remember one time come home from Salida and the women are out there in the garden. And I was watching them work and all of a sudden, when the lady inmates went.
Man, those were the good old.
And on that note, and I